Hi everyone, I'm Dale Smith, aka Journo Dale, and we're here to talk about Canadian politics. It's time to take your questions, and I've got a couple this week from Twitter. The first one is from Sandy, who provided a clip from a local news story about the province stepping in and stopping a local sale around lands that Ontario Power Generation had and was selling to the municipality. And she says this is an example of how local communities have no power, no say, and are overruled without notice or consultation. How will the court see this action against municipalities? And that's a really tough question to answer because when I was looking into the story here, the province stopped the sale because they wanted it to be examined by this new real estate board that they've created, but it's not up and running yet. And meanwhile, the sale had been approved by the council, by OPG and its board. And so I'm not quite sure what the mechanism is going to be for the courts to, well, I guess the mechanism the province used that the courts can then come in and say whether it was an appropriate use or not. Unfortunately, but the thing we have to remember is that municipalities are creatures of the province, and so the province has an enormous amount of power in being able to override municipalities because they basically control all of their enabling legislation. So that's one of the things we need to consider in a story like this, is that the province does have a lot of power because when they say that municipalities are creatures of the province, it means that the province literally creates them using provincial legislation. And that's why it can be difficult for municipalities to reclaim that power back from the provincial government, is because the province is the constitutional authority that created them. So that is kind of where that's at. I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's kind of how those powers kind of sort themselves out. So it's going to depend on what kind of legal arguments the municipality is going to be able to use to challenge the province's authority on this. My next question is from Mrs. White, who puts forward a vote result from the House of Commons that was about a motion to proceed to orders of the day, and asks, what was this about? Does this happen more often? Why? Why would people vote against moving to orders of the day? And this is basically about procedural shenanigans. So what the government is doing in moving a motion to go to orders of the day is that they're trying to avoid other dilatory motions or things from coming up, like a vote to debate a committee report rather than going to the topic of the day that the government has set, which is usually a piece of government legislation. And as for how common this is, it depends on kind of the mood in the House. When I talk about the 6 months of procedural warfare that happened in the previous parliament, it was about things like this. Instead of moving to orders of the day, where a bill could be debated or what have you, opposition parties would move other motions and debate a 3-line committee report for the whole afternoon, things like that. And that's the kind of thing that this particular vote is trying to do it to try to work against. And so this is that's kind of the rationale behind it. Like I said, this is about procedural shenanigans. The government has an agenda. They want to get things through. This is what we learned during those 6 months a year ago, was that there were any number of tools that the opposition parties were willing to employ to keep the government from moving its own agenda forward. And it wasn't until the very end of the spring sitting last year, around May, when the NDP and the Bloc suddenly decided, oh, they had bills that they did want to get passed, but they couldn't because they'd spent months doing this kind of gamesmanship to try and keep the government off balance. So now that the government has the support of the NDP in terms of the supply and confidence agreement, it's giving them a lot more power to use these motions about proceeding to orders of the day in order to get to the actual legislation that they're promising. And that's a good thing for the government. And it's hopefully going to mean that they'll actually get some stuff done now that they weren't able to do a year ago because of all of this procedural gamesmanship. So that's kind of what that's about. And why these particular votes are significant when it comes to the government's ability to move their own legislative agenda forward. And that's everything for this week. Thank you once again for your questions. Don't forget to join us again next week for some more Canadian politics. I'm Dale Smith. That's at journo_Dale on Twitter. And don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, everyone.